Hey guys, it's Isabel and today I am here with a review of 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. 1,000 Pieces of You is about this girl named Marguerite, and her parents are these amazing scientists that have invented a device called the Firebird, which allows you to travel through alternate realities and different dimensions. Marguerite's father is murdered, and it is suspected to be Paul, one of the grad students that worked under her parents along with Theo for a very long time. Theo is another grad student, and with his help, they travel across different dimensions, hunting down Paul so that they can kill him. Guys, I was so pleasantly surprised and amazed by this book. And I never read a Claudia Gray book before, but she is so fantastic. The book overall was just amazing, and it had twists and turns that caught me off guard and just had me sitting there so shocked. I love the characters, and she did such a great job of telling such a great story and giving you characters that you fell in love with in such a small book and that I will carry with me for a long time. It was just so great, you guys. I highly recommend it, and I hope you guys go out and pick it up today and give it a try. It is so good, and I promise you that you will love it. That is it for the non-spoilers in this video. Now we are going to jump in and delve in the depths of 1,000 Pieces of You to talk more about all of the things that went down in this book. What was really interesting about 1,000 Pieces of You was the way it was written. Claudia Gray didn't gradually move into the story and into Marguerite's life. It started off with her ending up in another dimension and coming into her body and talking about what had happened and the experience she was going through and recalling the fact that her father had been murdered. A lot of the story and the relationships that were told were brought to you in flashbacks that Marguerite explained that have relevance to what is going on and the things in her head and the story. So it was really neat because the book starts off just in such a great place. It's not slow and gradually moves up. It's just bam and it takes off, and I love that about the book. I love Marguerite's character because she was funny and headstrong, fierce. She was just so great and such a great heroine because not only was she able to be this normal girl, she was thrown into a situation that she adapted to quickly, and she used that will and that fire inside her to get revenge, to set her course throughout this book, and she just adapted so well. What I really loved was the relationship that Marguerite had with her father, and I connected with it really well since my dad and I are really close and he is like my best friend. There were a lot of things that Marguerite referenced and feelings she had towards him and getting that revenge for her dad, and her recalling memories of him and the little things about him that she loved, and especially in a scene towards the end where she is in another dimension with Professor Kane, who is her dad, and she's hugging him because she hasn't seen him in a month since he's died. She's recalling how every little thing about him that ever used to aggravate her, him making fun of her for watching The Vampire Diaries and quoting Monty Python and stuff, she just lost all of the annoyance for them, and she came to love them because it was her father and it was the thing she loved and remembered about him. And so I understood that because her dad was very much like my dad in those quirky aspects of him that she sort of felt were irritating but loved at the same time. Paul was such a neat character because you never really got to know who Paul was. Paul was a mystery throughout basically the whole book because you find out about him from the perspective of Marguerite and Theo and how they feel about him after believing that he has killed her father. She's introduced him in flashbacks as being very cold and closed off and reserved, and so you get a feel for him being the sort of person that could do this. When you finally do meet Paul, it's very quick, and when we see that he has some feelings for Marguerite, he leaves. And the rest of our journey is, and a big part of the book is Paul and Marguerite in another dimension where she is this duchess and he is her guard. We spend a lot of the book where she is really falling in love with him, questioning that love because it's not him. It's this different Paul. It's not the Paul that she knows and that she will be going back to when she returns. The fact that she created a love story that was so unique and different because it was built on these different versions of him that she had come across, and it played on the idea that is there fate? Can you really love somebody when it's not really them? It's a different them that you know, and is everyone just a part of themselves? And even though we can be different in those different realities, we're still our core beliefs and person on the inside, and that is going to show no matter what dimension you are in. And it also played on this great idea of fate, and that if we had different dimensions and different outcomes and alternate realities, would we all in the end go different ways, or would we find our way back to each other? Let me tell you, I suspected Theo from the beginning. When you find out that he is the spy, that there is a spy in him, and even though it's not really Theo, but it is the Theo that we've been with for so long and that we sympathize for and connected with, and so many times I was like, I took back what I thought about him, or I think it was him, and then I'm like, no, it can't be Theo. Theo's great. And when it ends up being him, I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. I sat there just going, oh my god. Oh my god. When we find out that she is the key this whole time, and that's who everyone was after, it was so like, that makes sense. And you know, she explains the accident that happened years before with the machine, and at that time when you're reading it, you're like, here's a scene not about her getting hurt, but about her relationship with Paul and the way Paul treats her in the scene, and he cares for her, and he's hugging her to his chest, and he's so worried about her, and you're so caught up in Paul and what Marguerite is showing you and in trying to explain to you her feelings for Paul in that scene. But when you read later, and that is the reason for her being able to jump through the dimensions and not be confused or need a reminder, when she just pulls that out of the hat and references it back to that, you're like, oh my gosh, because you didn't even see it the first time because that's not what you were focusing on. But when you look at it, it's the fact that that scene and that flashback can have so many meanings. It shows you Paul and the way he feels about her. It shows you Marguerite and the way she feels about him. It's how she's able to jump through the dimensions. It's the relationship with her sister. It's what Theo was really doing. It was the company. There was just so much wrapped up in that scene that you did not see at first. I love the scene where Paul is on the train with Marguerite before they leave, and she's going to catch up with him in the next reality and dimension, and he tells her that he loves her. And it was so neat because you spend a lot of the book in Marguerite's perspective, where she's talking about trying to find out how she feels about Paul, and we go through that time period where she realizes that she's in love with him, and then you get back and she's so confused, but Paul is in love with her. And it was such a neat parallel, and the way it came together, it was just beautiful. And I love that in the end she's giving him a chance, and that they're going to see what there is for them, because there was no denying that there are feelings there. They just found that out in such a weird way. That is my review of 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. I loved it so much. Again, it was fantastic, and I'm so excited to meet Claudia at the Texas Book Festival and at the Louisiana Book Festival to just tell her how great this book was. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe. I will see you all next time. Bye!